versus atheism.
Hello and welcome. I am here finally again. I have relocated to my cottage. I'm drinking another warm beverage which consists of raw cacao, coconut oil, cacao butter, or raw cacao butter, raw honey, cinnamon, and cayenne, and it tastes delicious. I stopped drinking coffee, 2.5 years back, and I started drinking cacao instead. I highly recommend this beverage. Instead of drinking the coffee, sugary stuff, go for something like this. It helps you if you want to start fasting. You can drink a cup of this in the morning and you don't feel any hunger for a few hours. It helps you reset everything. It has antioxidants, and the highest amount of antioxidants you can find. And it contains so many good stuff for the blood system, for the brain, for the heart, for all of it. And coconut oil and fat is really good too. Just giving you a little help, I believe. I haven't gotten the headaches that I had when I was always drinking coffee at work and then going home and not drinking as much coffee as I drank at work and then getting headaches over the weekend. Therefore, I stopped taking the paracetamol or Tylenol or whatever you call it in America or wherever you are in the world. And since then, it's helped me have more energy, have more focus. It's quite an astounding little remedy. I highly recommend. But in this video, we're gonna go into Neil Degrasse Tyson. Just to give you a little insight into my setup, I search everything using, and it's just like I'm not getting any money or anything because of this. I'm just showing you. There's a way you can search the internet without using Google, which is monitoring everything you do and giving you these subliminal messages. And you were searching for something, and then you were then on Instagram, and then suddenly you saw an ad of something that you were searching and stuff like that. So pre-search anonymizes all your searches, and it's also creates crypto for you. Pre is a crypto. Just to show you here, it's like I search for Neil Degrasse, or can I search Neil Degrasse Tyson? And you see that I can also use Google to search using pre-search, so they access the other search engines using pre-search. And I have a node running on my little $150 laptop that is running Ubuntu. And here you can see my node. This has successful 100 requests, attempted 100, and slowly over the time I should gain some PRE. And that is PRE, crypto, and some exchanges have started selling it. So if we go to CoinGecko or something, you can see that it's about $0.03 right now, and it could go up if more people start using it. I have 25 PRE. When you start using pre-search and you start logging into it, then you start seeing that on your account like this. But, it's a wormhole. We don't want to go deep into that anus through a black hole. But it's a nice thing that I've been using for a year now. And you can use, if you go on iPhone, you can install pre-search browser on your phone. And it has an automatic ad block and everything. So I can just go on YouTube and watch everything without having any ads being pushed to my way. I had some issues with my ad block this morning, so I had to reinstall an ad blocker, or I removed the ad block that I had and I installed a new free one that is called Adblocker Ultimate. And that seems to be working right now, so I don't get this message, you have to install premium or blah blah blah. It's a good way of going around what they want you to do. But in this video, I'm gonna focus on Neil Degrasse Tyson. I already made a video, so I watched some of this, and it was 40 minutes long that I had made, but I had just shown another Mozilla Firefox screen that didn't show the video, but it has the audio, so I might release the audio. It had some other insights in there, but I will probably just remember what I talked about, because he has a very clear way of communicating, this man, even though he digresses. Neil Degrasse Tyson. And he has a Tyson-like ego, you know, a little
I like pigeons
in his consciousness, and he loves to listen to himself talk. But let's give it a chance and listen to a 2-minute video from CBS and check it out.
Do you believe in God?
Me?
Creator?
Yeah, so I'm the more I look at the universe, just the less convinced I am that there is something benevolent going on. So if your concept of a creator is someone who's all powerful.
Okay, starts off with a straw man. If your concept, remember concept, theories, ideas, all that stuff, of a creator, straw manning this thing, Sky Daddy, straw man argument, I believe.
And all good. That's not an uncommon pairing of powers that you might ascribe to a creator. All powerful and all good. And I look at disasters that afflict Earth and life on Earth. Volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, disease, pestilence, congenital birth defects. You look at this list of ways that life...
Congenital birth defects. Okay. There's a difference between, like he's describing God as if it's, if he is some octopus with billions of tentacles controlling everything that's going on. He's describing God as some kind of entity that is both powerful, all powerful in the tentacles that he's doing everything, and all good. But that is completely opposite to what is going on, in my opinion. Because what God originally created with Adam and Eve had consequences of the original sin, and that caused everything to go into this fallen state. So the creation itself, if you look at Earth, if you look at when you plant the seed, what does it grow? Maybe not now in wintertime, but that's why you have to conserve your food and make sure you have enough over the year. And this was all detailed in religious texts based on how to survive on Earth. But it's not God's fault, even though the creation itself is causing all this. And you can so easily strawman this argument that is based on some hypothetical version of God that is some kind of a sky daddy that doesn't make any sense, some bearded guy or something.
Is made miserable on Earth by natural causes. And I just ask, how do you deal with that? So philosophers rose up and said, if there is...
Another fallacies, like philosophers rose up. Who? Are you talking about Immanuel Kant and Hume and the atheists, or and Locke? Like what particular philosophers are you speaking of? What texts are you referring to?
There is a God. God is. So philosophers rose up and said, if there is a God, God is either not all powerful or not all good. I have no problems if, as we probe the origins of things, we bump up into the bearded man. If that shows up, we're good to go.
You're so funny, Mr. Tyson. So humorous. So when you look at the interferometric scans from the Event Horizon telescopes, then you could probably see some Wizard of Oz suddenly, like with his pants down, jacking off to something, some OnlyFans or whatever. It's like it's just this hypothetical thing that he has in his mind is so low resolution. And when I speak of low resolution, I'm speaking of, you have a car, you can know how to drive it, you know how to switch gears, you know how to look at the gog, well, how much, tire pressure you have, and what, how much speed you're driving on, and what gear you're in, and all that, low resolution. But when it breaks down, you don't have the high resolution of fixing it. So the mechanic has the high resolution of your car. For you, it's a billion things that could be wrong with the car. For him, it's maybe 70, maybe 20, 20 things that I should check. And that's the reason why your car broke down, So he is using a low resolution argument, a kindergarten argument about how God is all powerful and all good, and therefore, because of these horrible things that are happening, God is a horrible, horrible thing.
Okay? Not a problem. There's just no evidence of it. And this is why religions are called faiths, collectively. Because you believe something in the absence of evidence. That's what it is.
Okay. You believe something in absence of evidence. Faith. This taking a leap of faith. We are inherently ignorant human beings. And there are things that are far beyond our understanding of what is going on. When you have a scientific mindset, especially these theoretical physicists, they have this sense of self-ego that they know everything because they mapped out all the elements in the world, if it's aluminum or silver or gold or whatever, all these gases and and then you know everything about physics. It's such a grandiose state of understanding, and the Socratic method is not knowing, and then you start asking everyone around you, and they all end up contradicting themselves. And that's what Socrates understood, that he didn't know. He just realized he didn't know anything. And the oracle was telling him that or that's how I heard the story, that he was told that the oracle had told him that he was the wisest man in Greece or Earth or whatever, the perspective they had back then. And he was like, I just figured out I don't know anything. And when you ask questions, you start seeing that many people, the ones who think they know, they don't know. And therefore, you have to have a leap of faith. We have to believe in something. And when we are ignorant and we don't believe in anything, and therefore gain knowledge and slowly think we know everything. Having a belief in God and that there is good in the world is better than the perspective the atheists have. And this is my opinion. I personally know God. I have met God. And that has taken me a long time to experience. It took practice, it took praying, it took meditating, it took fasting. But if you ask and if you talk and if you communicate with an entity that you feel is God, he will reach you. But you have to be careful. There's always this deceiver, both within and without, that is trying to make you believe that he is God or that is God, this demonic entity. And when you have an atheistic mindset, you're just opening up to that demonic entity. So be careful. But I feel like I don't believe in God. I know God. I know him. And it's taken me all my life to figure it out. But I had this leap of faith belief until I got to know him. So faith is not the opposite of evidence, even though he says that. But belief is the opposite of knowing. And nobody can take knowledge away from you. And I think that's the thing that you take with you when you die. Knowledge. It's stored somewhere. It's not stored in our neurons or in our brain, It's stored in our soul. There's an experience that we are having, and the soul wants us to do good, but it can't control us because we have this ego within us that is constantly trying to go for the next cigarette or the next violent movie or going for the next hate towards your neighbor or towards your ex or jealousy and all that. And it's constantly trying to remind you of stay present, forgive, be a part of life, be good, be the best version of yourself. Even though everything is against you, try to be the best version of yourself. Not the most beautiful version of yourself with cosmic surgery or cosmetic surgery or cosmetics or whatever. Just be the most and best version of yourself. Be good, be kind, be a good father, good brother, good son. Or you can be a good mother, good sister, good daughter, and work it from there. Be a good coworker. Be good. Focus on the good. If you don't know what good is, analyze it, read about it. What is being good? What are the good desires that I can go for? Because they are going to make you feel good, even though they fail, But if you go for violence, and you get your violence, and you kick their ass, you're going to get worse. And that's why they're called ignorant desires. Violence, lust, jealousy, anger, hate. But they are the ones that are so sticky, They call for more. It's like the fly that flies into the honey, and instead of going on the side and having a little and flying away, it goes in the middle. And it gets stuck, starts trying to eat the honey, and slowly it just devours it. And in our consciousness, when we are constantly going for gluttony or going for sugar or going for that, it calls for more. It's like putting oil on a fire to stop it. It's just going to go up,
It is. That's why it's called faith. Otherwise, we would call all religions evidence.
Evidence does not show where we are going. It is obvious that the murderer is one of us. But who would want to kill him?
Some Agatha Christie evidence thing. Ugh. Such a low resolution. Where are you going to find evidence if you don't even know how to look? You don't have the conceptual tools to comprehend it. That's just the thing.
But we don't, for exactly that reason. So I'm given what everyone describes to be the properties that would be expressed by an all-powerful being in the gods that they worship. I look for that in the universe and I don't find it. So I remain unconvinced. But if you've got some good evidence, bring it up, bring it, okay? And so I don't lead with that information because what I believe should be irrelevant to anyone. It's not about me.
Exactly, Neil. It's not about you. That's what faith and belief in God is about. Believing that there's a higher will. Following that will instead of your own selfish will. So masking it out if it's some kind of an egoic thing to tell people what you believe, that's just bullshit, man. There's a difference between fundamental believing, and this is a fundamental atheist. He's like a preaching Baptist atheist, taking the snakes and, but that's the weird thing, They have these snakes in Baptist or whatever church there is in the South, and the people don't die, even though they're bitten by the snakes, because belief is so strong in God that it keeps them strong. And that's documented. That's evidence for him. But, I don't know.
It's about the real world.
Yeah, it's about the real world.
Do you see any intention?
Is this the right one? I think so, yeah.
Do you see any intention or anything in like the ordering of the cosmos?
Yeah, so if intent is an interesting question when imposed on the universe.
Intent. This is a very good word. Because I, as an actor, I was an actor when I was living in Iceland and in my early years. So I was learning about intention. What is intention? What's your intention? What's your intent? As a character on stage. And intention, if we just look at that first, like what one intends to do or bring about. The object for which a prayer, mass, or pious act is offered. And many of these spiritual people are talking about, especially if you go to these ceremonies or spiritual events, they're always talking, you put an intention into the remedy that you're drinking or whatever. But the act of putting intention into your life is extremely important. Just to give you a brief, like if you just look at this word intent, a usually clearly formulated or planned intention. The act of intending, especially the designing or purpose of to commit or wrongful or criminal act. It's like it's also in the court of law. What was his intention? Can you tell me what was the intention of the brr? So it's a very, very deep word. And you can analyze, for instance, in a scene, I can tell you, it's like if you're in a scene and you have let's just say there's a woman on stage and there's a man on stage trying to get out. And he comes back on stage, he forgot, like, there's, like on the page, it's just a dialogue between a man and a woman. But you as an actor can put intention into the character. So the intention could be, I'm just going to go back into the stage and I'm going to get my car keys and I'm going to go back and I'm going to go and drive away. I don't want to be in this situation. I just want to go. And while that is happening, the dialogue is happening. So there's an intention of that character. But the intention of the woman is to try to keep him home, try to keep him back. Then you have a clear understanding of why the dialogue is happening. But if there's no intent and you're just saying the dialogue, they're just two people standing there, there's no action going on, then it's a kind of a dead scene. You can change that intention. The intention of the man could suddenly be, I want to get in her pants. I want to make love to her right now. And then the whole scene changes and the words change. So he is speaking of this intent. Intent is an interesting question when imposed on the universe. So what is God's intent? That's a good question.
For the longest while, philosophically, people imagined that the universe was some perfect place. Earth was a haven for life, especially human life, and everything is just right for us. And that would leave you thinking.
Yeah, this is another straw man. He's the master of straw mans. Earth was created with the intent of being perfect for us. Very selfish.
Thinking that there's some intent to the universe, that the universe is serving our needs.
Now he's proposing that God wants us to be selfish and has made the universe for us so we can serve our selfish needs. Well, that's not true. Of course not. So he's going to break that logic down now.
And of course, this is, as you would suspect, very strong in religious philosophies.
Now he's saying that all the religious philosophies are pointing out that fact, which is not true. It's just lies.
Where the adherents of that particular religion are sure that they are more special than any other religion, or more correct in so doing. When you look at...
There's difference between religions, but there's a silver lining between all the religions that is pointing to a source. Whether you get caught up in the specifics or you search for the silver lining, which I was trying to do, I could read all these religious texts and I could find a meaning, but I also saw a lot of fallacies in there, a lot of texts written by monks that were afraid of women, for instance.
The large-scale universe and you see these structures, what you have to ask yourself is, suppose all the galaxies were exactly equally spaced, rather than in these filaments and structures. Perhaps you'd be asking the same thing. Oh, look at, is there some intent here? Look how beautifully ordered it is. Ask yourself, is there some configuration of the universe where you wouldn't ask that?
Is there some configuration of the universe where you wouldn't ask that? Configuration. What is he speaking about when it speaks about configuration? Is he speaking about it from a technical term? It's like when you're setting up a server, you have to have a configuration file pointing out what IP address it should be on, what username and password you should use to connect to this module in order to allow the payments to work or whatever. What configuration is he talking about here? Is there some configuration of the universe where you wouldn't ask that? So it's a straw man, and there's a straw man inside the straw man.
Because if there isn't, then the question doesn't actually aim towards a unique answer. If anything you see out there...
Of course, if you ask a stupid question, then the answer doesn't really matter.
...looks like it's ordered to you, then the question, you can't ask the question. You have to be able to ask the question such that if it were this other way, you would reject it. Now, the people who said Earth is a haven and all this, the fossil record argues differently.
Of course you're going to get a reaction of that, because that's some bullshit argument that is being done on kid shows. Like, God, if you read the Bible, the earth is only 6,000 years old. What about the dinosaurs? It's like Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks was a comedian that was talking about this. It's funny, yeah, but is it an argument? Does that prove that God doesn't exist? Maybe the religion. There's a difference between religion and God. And there's a difference between knowing God and believing in God. There's a difference between these ideas. And these are not ideas also. This is also a different thing. Like we're talking about, in my opinion, elements that help you. For instance, belief. There's no God there. It's just belief. And they're playing around with us this word, belief. So if you do a miracle, if you're going to go for the world record, if you're going to hit the free throw that's going to win the game, and everybody in your room wants you to fail, but you have a belief, you have faith, then there's a much better chance you're going to hit that free throw, or you're going to make that world record, you know? So, God is the ultimate good, and then there is the ultimate evil. And these are this duality that we are living in. Right has a left, up has a down. And if you look at within, when I constantly be talking about that, don't look out there and try to find God. Go within, figure out what is going on. Then you see that there's a seven colors, 7 circuits that are happening. And the gland system is the gateway into this reality somehow. These glands, the endocrine gland system, are excreting hormones, pheromones. You have oxytocin, the love hormone. And this is not done. And this is the thing that drug addicts are addicted to. And if you are going for morphine, that's just the lowest. You're relaxing the overstressed elements in your bodies. And you get addicted to that. And then you're drinking coffee all day long. And you get addicted to stress. And caffeine activates the stress in you. That's the weird thing. Like if you're going through a stressful situation and you drink a cup of cappuccino or espresso and you wait 10 minutes, you're going to feel like you're extra sweaty, extra stressed. So look within. Learn about what is going on within you, especially if you're depressed and if you believe this nonsense that they're speaking of. It's so easy to fall victim to, because you are the programmer of your own quantum computer, which is you. This thing that can think about the past and the future at the same time, be in the present. And it's an amazing creation that we are. And we are created in the image of God. And if you look at that, not just believe what I'm saying, just investigate that, then you know what I'm talking about. Slowly you will gain a level of intelligence to bridge this belief gap, this leap of faith gap that needs to be bridged. The sooner you do it, the easier life becomes.
97.8% of all life that ever existed is now extinct. That's the sign not of a planet that loves its life. That's a sign of a planet that wants it to get the life the hell off.
Right. That's
okay?
the anti-haven. That's
right?
Yeah.
Right. We're alive not because, but in spite of it. From tsunamis, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, droughts, floods. Every year they kill thousands of people. Thousands.
You're kind of bumming me out. I have to say.
I'm not done. Not to mention,
I'm not
asteroid impacts.
Yeah.
Took out the dinosaurs.
It's like he's fueling up this depressive mindset of what's going on. Because scientists have evidence of all the things that have died. Therefore, Earth wants you to die. Like death is a part of life. Birth is the opposite of dying, you know. So there can't be any birth without death, and there can't be any death without birth. It's a part of our existence. But if you focus on only the death part of everything, then of course you're just going to see that because you have a very, very low resolution of what's going on. You're ignorant. And we are ignorant. We are dumb. The dumber you are, you understand that, and you realize how dumb you are. Then you can build the top of that. And that's what Brian Cox was saying scientists should be. I don't know anything. I'm looking at it, and I'm learning something new. But if you always are pushing your own... Like he's a fundamental atheist, this Neil Degrasse Tyson.
65 million years ago. Earth is in a shooting gallery. You want to say there's intent? Yeah, the intent is to kill us. Okay? There's your intent.
Wow.
So the more you look at the universe, the less clear any purposeful intent there is.
On that upbeat note, we're gonna need to.
Wait. You want to upbeat?
Give us
when the asteroid comes.
Yes.
Okay. If.
Okay. He's destroyed everyone's perspective of the world. Now he's gonna build it back up again. How? Who is gonna help?
We have people who reject the science world, and the asteroid is headed towards us. They will be doing a number of things, praying certainly. They'll be running away from the impact point. They'll be buying toilet paper and bottled water.
You see the level of deviant
Toilet paper, ugly people who pray. But they will believe in the scientists. The scientists are going to help you.
It's fundamental scientism we're looking at here. Believe in me. Look at me. I'm the smart one. I am an astronomer. Look at the stars. Look at me. Look at how sexy I am and how smart I am. Ego. Tyson ego.
And whereas if you had scientists in your midst and engineers, when the asteroid comes, they say, how can I deflect that? Two completely different outlooks on your fate. So, if I'm bumming you out by saying there's disaster...
Now he's saying that you have a fate of dying and the scientists are trying to help you survive it. The incoming asteroid. How can we deflect it? You know, Armageddon. Bruce Willis, who's now a little sick, but he couldn't play that now, maybe. Armageddon 2. Neil Degrasse Tyson. Walking, jumping. You see his belly. He's wearing a specially suited astronaut suit so he can fit it. And he's like, Neil, you can't go on. You won't fit the door, man. We have to customize the door so you can get in, brother. I'll get in. Look at me. I can fix this. I can deflect it. I can go on the asteroid and I can use the nuke and I can bomb it away so we can survive. And President Freeman will help us. Deep Impact. Some horrible movie about disaster is coming and don't be afraid, trust me.
That will kill us.
Yeah.
I'd like to lift you up again by saying it may be that innovations in science and technology may be the only thing that can save us from ourselves.
The conceptual tools. The future conceptual tools will help us. Yes. The things we haven't quite figured out that.
Ugh. How can people fall victim to believing this stuff?
Bummed me. That's perfect.
In a free society, a free pluralistic society, where the freedom of the expression of religion is constitutionally protected, which is a fundamental part of why America was so attractive to immigrants from around the world, whose religious differences were not being supported in their hometown. I will never be one to tell you what you should believe or what you should not believe. What I will say is that...
That's a lie. It's like he's telling you to believe science.
Believe the scientists.
Which is exactly the opposite of science. You're supposed to be skeptical about the evidence and the findings. You're supposed to be ignorant to the fact that is going on. But he's so caught up in his ego. And he was talking about order earlier. And Jordan Peterson is constantly talking about chaos and order. You have to have order in your life. Bucko, clean your room. And that dude is very masculine. And he's a father figure to many of the young men out there. And he's a very good father figure. I have to honestly say that, even though it's questionable looking at his children. But he's a good father figure when it comes to, speaking his mind and being masculine, being strong masculine. But order is also the opposite, which is the left hemisphere. Order, boxes, right? And the right hemisphere in us, the super ego, we have the ego, and you have a super ego. And the right controls the left. So when you get, for instance, an aneurysm or bleeding in the brain that is impacting your left hemisphere, you usually lose your ability to speak, to use symbols, and understand symbols. And you get paralyzed on your right side. And that is, you still function, you still can be alive, but how I see it is that you have to harmonize these two hemispheres together that are opposites. And I feel like the Fibonacci sequence, I have it open here because I was speaking about it earlier. So you have this Fibonacci sequence which shows you the masculine, the boxes that contain the spiral. And this spiral is the thing that Neil Degrasse Tyson is looking at when he's looking at some galaxies that are spiraling in this way. And then you just look at the flower and the what is it called? The snail has this, what's it called? You know what I mean. The spiral. You see it on the beach. You see how everything is created in this Fibonacci sequence. And this is the thing that, if you Fibonacci, search for Fibonacci and Leonardo da Vinci, like you see that he has incorporated it into his paintings. Like this. This is how we are made, Mona Lisa, Fibonacci sequence. It shows you, this is the golden symmetry in, you can see it better here maybe. What is going on now? What are you doing? Stop it. Stop it. What are you showing me that is breaking apart here? This one. Alright. So you see, there's a Fibonacci sequence happening that is leading us to an understanding of how we are made. Alright? If you're a scientist, and if your only intention is to try to analyze things from a way you see the world, which is completely atheistic in his case, and you're not going to see you're just going to see the same mess that is in your head.
If you want to say that where we don't understand things, that's where God rests, that's where God operates, the God of the gaps argument, because I get asked that all the time. What was around before the universe? I don't know. Must have been something, God. So they got to stick in God where we're not there yet. And I just say, we got top people working on that.
This is the arrogance that I'm speaking of. You can see it. I don't have to point it more out. You just let them speak.
Current frontier, we're not there yet. And given the history of the moving frontier, where people had previously said, well, God must be operating, where
Like, by the way, fundamental Christians and fundamental Islamists and fundamental this and that, there's a fundamental ignorant thing going on before all the other things are happening. And you can see it in Neil Degrasse Tyson. He's a fundamental atheist. And when you're in that perspective, then you're putting straw mans in, like saying, we don't know, therefore God. That's a straw man. And most scientists in the past, Isaac Newton, one of them, who was a Freemason and blah, 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 but he believed in a God. Natural philosophers back in the day, they were looking at nature and trying to understand God. And it doesn't relieve you of looking into it. It's just God. It's just God. That's just how God works, and we don't need to look at it anymore. It's like Fibonacci shows you that there is a sequence and there's an order and there's a happening going on that is far beyond our understanding. But you can try to understand it still. It doesn't just stop you from trying to understand it. That's the bullshit here. It's not either or. You can go for it and still believe. You still have faith. You still have a longing to understand. It doesn't just break away from that and, God is this and my God is better than your God and I'm going to kill you because my God is better. That's just low resolution bullshit going on here.
Those explanations have come, and so I don't, there's no compelling reason to say God did it and then sort of give up and go on to the next problem. My issue with the God of the Gaps is that if you feel that way, you should not be writing the science curriculum of a classroom. Okay?
This is the fallacy. This is the arrogance. And this guy is just propped up. Now he's saying, like, okay, one of the fallacies that I'm also seeing, and it's in many people, I've seen it in others, well, I'm just speaking to them. Science hasn't caught up yet to our ideas. And I always use this. I'm going to change an infant into a female, a male infant into a female infant. And one day we will have the technologies to do so. Therefore, I believe in science. It's like, I believe in Lucifer, is what I hear. When you remove the good out of science, then you get Joseph Mengele. You know, you get this Nazi, let's experiment on humans thing. And that's happening today. There's an unproven, unscientifically researched thing being pushed into your arm everywhere. And they're just checking out if it works. Where there's Kermit, another Kermit, Bill Gates is trying to license you, make you eat his food, Microsoft food. Which, by the way, Microsoft, it's a description of some organ in him that I believe that stems from. And you have to realize, like, what I'm speaking about when it comes to open source, it's a contradiction to closed source. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Steve Jobs was the closest source you could get. He closed his computers with a special tool in order for you not to change it. He didn't like you. He didn't want you to fix his magical device. Therefore, you have a device that you can't switch the batteries out of. You can't do anything. And even the people that you go and you ask them to fix it for you, they have to go through legal hell in able to change these things. And this is the closest source, most closed source that you can find. And then you have Bill Gates, who is creating closed source in the software, closing the source. You can only use this program called XX whatever in Excel and in PowerPoint and in these tools. If you try to open them somewhere else, they just become gibberish. So you have to pay a license fee to Bill Gates in order to open this. And that was the idea of Microsoft. And it's horrible. And people, that's a religion too. There are believers, Microsoft believers, that have been trained in training camp to become a system administrator in Microsoft tools. And they hate Linux, you know. I bridged that belief gap technically when I was a Microsoft Windows administrator, and then I stepped over into becoming a Linux open source investigator and lover of freedom instead of closed license fees and stuff like that. And this is being removed from an understanding. But I don't think I have more time to go into this guy, honestly. It's been a long video, and I'm gonna just end it here. Like and subscribe. If you want more videos like this, I will go deeper. I will go analyze farther and farther in each video. Thank you so much, and have the most beautiful present moment.